drive into the mountains, because the Rocky Mountains are incredible, spectacular, and if you don't live anywhere near them and you're thinking about coming, definitely worth seeing. So, I'll talk to you soon. Well, I finally found some place to relax and have something to eat and enjoy the outdoors, but oh my gosh, was it packed in Banff. So I ended up turning around and coming back to Canmore, and that's where I am right now. It's crazy busy in the mountains, and remember when I said you should come and visit? You should definitely wait until Corona's over because it's packed. I just hit my 1-year anniversary in the tiny house, and I thought it might be useful to people who are thinking about the tiny house lifestyle to sort of tell you the things that I don't like about living in my tiny house. I don't know how many there's going to be, but there are some things that I don't like about living in my tiny house. As much as I hate to say it, let's go over those right now. The first thing that I really don't like about tiny house living is not having a garage. You know, I came from a condo, a townhouse style condo, where I had a heated attached garage. And while I knew I would miss it, we had such a long, cold, snowy winter. I missed being able to just pull into a heated garage and go straight into the house, being able to haul my groceries in without having to go through the snow. You forget until you don't have it. And let's face it, not having to plug my car in so that it will actually start in the winter at minus 30 degrees Celsius, not having to sweep it off, scrape the windshield, just being able to get into a warm car. I really miss having a garage, and I do not like having to park outside, exposed to the elements, the snow in particular, when we have winters that are as long as they are in Alberta, Canada. That's number one. Another thing that I have to say is kind of a hassle is not having a full-size washer and dryer. Don't get me wrong, I love my washer and dryer combo unit. It's so convenient to have that in the house, but it washes small loads and dries even smaller loads. So you end up doing a lot of small loads. That's kind of a hassle. Now, I could go to the laundromat, and I do when we don't have a pandemic raging. But, you know, even that is not as convenient as putting your laundry just into your own washer and dryer. You don't have the laundry facilities in the laundry room that you have in a conventional size house, which can be definitely a negative. Another thing that's a negative about a tiny house is the fact that you almost never have a dishwasher. I certainly don't have a dishwasher. So every time I eat, I have to do my dishes. Otherwise, your kitchen starts to look messy, cluttered. And and when you have a dishwasher, you have a place to hide your dishes if you don't feel like doing them. Say if you've had a big dinner company. But you don't have that luxury in a tiny house. You can put them in your sink, but that's still open and exposed. So not having a dishwasher kind of sucks in a tiny house. Not that you can't put one in, but you're sacrificing a lot of cupboard space when you do that. And I didn't want to make that trade-off. I wanted more cupboard space and storage space. So yeah, that's another thing that I don't like about living in a tiny house is not having a dishwasher. I have a cat in my tiny house, and that means I have a litter box. And even if you plan a space for that litter box, you still end up having it right there because you're living in a very small space. That's definitely on the negative side. That's definitely a hassle. I mean, I clean her litter box every day. I did even when I had my townhouse. But every time she goes into her litter box, she jumps out. I don't know why she dives out. And I end up with cat litter on the floor right in front of her litter box, which happens to be underneath my desk. I use a fantastic litter that's made from walnut shells, so it doesn't smell, which is amazing. It's not dusty, which is also amazing, and there's no scratching on the floor if you do walk on it, but you still have to vacuum it up or sweep it up. And when I had my townhouse, her litter box was tucked away downstairs. So in a tiny house, you don't have spots for things like that, and that's definitely a negative about living in such a small space. If you have pets and they have stuff such as a litter box, crates, huge dog bed, that can be definitely a negative about living in a tiny space. Okay, so we have 4, I think. We have no garage, no dishwasher, no full-size washer and dryer, no place for your cat litter box and other big pet things. I've been sitting here trying to think of one more thing, because it's always nice to have like 5 things you don't like about living in a tiny house. And I cannot think of a 5th thing, one more thing that I really, really dislike about living in a tiny house. There are sacrifices that I've made to live tiny, but none of them have been a big deal. So I actually can't think of a 5th thing, which I guess is pretty good. So I guess I'll end the video there. There's only 4 things that I can think of that I really don't like about living in a tiny house. Everything else hasn't really been that big of a deal. I hope you liked the video. I hope you like the change of scenery. And I will talk to you next time.